Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I did a video not too long ago about emotional support animals versus service animals and how there's a lot of confusion in that area. And I'll put a link to the video in the description below. But it's one of those things that causes a lot of people to get upset because there is a legitimate need for service animals. But there are people who abuse the system by just taking their pet, going online and finding a company that'll sell them the certificate, and they'll just name their pet a support animal, and they'll take it places. And next thing you know, there's dogs in restaurants and dogs in the mall and dogs everywhere. And these are not actual service animals as defined by any of the laws that support this. They've just started creating their own exception to this. And so a guy, in response to this, did what I believe is the ultimate trolling thing to do. Because I saw a TV show, and I forgot which one it was, 48 Hours or one of those type of shows, where a news reporter would just bring a wacky animal on board a plane and go, oh, it's a support animal. It's an emotional support animal. And he brought like a spiny hedgehog, and I think he brought a tortoise, and he may have brought like a toad. And he's just flying around carrying these weird animals. And the airlines are like, oh, okay, sure. And people get confused. They're not sure what the laws are. So again, like I said, see the previous video, but Russell sent me this, and it's from Arizona Family, or azfamily.com. Max Gordon wrote the story. Prescott Valley man registers beehive as service animal. So now you'll immediately go, wait, Steve, a beehive contains more than one animal. Never mind that, okay? The beehive actually does operate as a collective, and as such, I think the man's onto something here. The man's name is David Keller. He said a lot of people thought it was hilarious, and a lot of people were getting upset. But he says that the whole thing started when he saw somebody who had what they claimed was a service dog, but the dog was misbehaving, which led him to believe that it wasn't really a service dog. So out of Prescott Valley, Arizona, David Keller, by the way, has never actually owned any bees, nor is he a beekeeper. But he did register a beehive as a service animal to prove a point last month. So he said that when he saw the dog misbehaving, he said, I could very easily tell that it was not a service animal because it was pulling the owner to the parking lot. So he decided to make a statement. Keller said, I was just thinking, it's just too easy to get these animals to be service animals. So he went to a website, which I'm not going to give the name of here because there's tons of them. You can look this up. How do I make my dog a service animal or a support animal? What do you want to call it? And he successfully registered the picture of a beehive as a service animal. He said, I wanted to bring awareness to the issue that anyone could do this. Now, the TV station did reach out to the website, but nobody responded. A quick web search turns up many service animal registration sites, but these sites aren't official. But if you register with them, they'll send you documentation saying you've registered. And then when you get confronted by somebody who goes, is this really a service animal? You show them the registration, and they don't know what they can do, and they usually let you go. Keller's stunt showed that some of them do very little. It's a nice way of saying some do nothing to verify the animals they're registering. They're very silly. They don't mean anything, says Jamie Carden, who trains service dogs. You can go pay for a registry on one of those websites, and basically you're just paying for a piece of paper and to put a name on a list. And by the way, you could do that. If you have a printer, go into some shareware program in Windows, or Apple, I'm sure has it too, and just make up something that looks like a certificate of registration, and just register your dog and say, yeah, it's an emotional support animal, and just register it with yourself. Sign it and date it and carry it with you, and watch what happens when you pull it out. Now, Carden says these sites do highlight a real problem, which is people passing off their pets as service animals. She says training is how you tell whether it's a service animal or not. But federal law says a service animal can only be a dog or a miniature horse. So no bees. An attorney with the Arizona Center for Disability Law said that the law is pretty clear that a service animal is an animal trained to perform a specific task related to a disability. A service animal doesn't need to be registered anywhere, let alone on a third-party website. So the fact that somebody pulls out a registration and says, look, my dog's registered, is irrelevant. The law doesn't actually call for that. So Keller hopes all the buzz around his beehive stunt proves his point about these registration sites. It's making people believe all animals are service animals when they're not. And there's a clear difference. And I got some very, very angry responses, both in the email and the comments underneath my video, from people who said, Steve, you shouldn't be making fun of people who use, service animals. I'm not. People who use service animals have every right to do it, and I applaud them for doing it. The people who take Fluffy and have Fluffy registered with a fake organization and then call Fluffy an emotional support animal so they can bring Fluffy on an airplane and sit in their lap, they're the one who are causing the problem, because what happens is the person with a legitimate service animal has people look at them going, I wonder if that's a real service animal or if that's just a dog they like bringing with them places. And I know that much of this, with the airlines in particular, came about for two reasons, one of which I actually kind of understand. But one of which is that they charge you a lot to bring an animal on board an airplane. But they're also notoriously bad at handling animals in airplanes. And we've all heard the stories about animals that were, checked as luggage and where the animal died. The pets died. And then they go, oh, your pet died, so what? Sorry, it's like we lost your luggage. Who cares? They act like as if there's no consequences for their actions. So I kind of understand the people who are like, I don't want my dog to die. But it's also people who just don't want to pay whatever the cost might be. But again, this is all besides the point. There is a law that says that a service animal must meet certain guidelines and do certain things for people with legitimate disabilities. And the people who say, well, I just want to bring my dog along for emotional support, that's fine if you're allowed to do that where you're going. And, I've been places before where people bring animals into stores. Okay, there's some stores that encourage it. But there's also malls. I've been to malls before. People bring their animals into malls, and as long as the animals aren't misbehaving too much, people kind of like, who cares? And I've been to malls before where someone's got a dog in a stroller like it's a baby in a carriage. And again, who cares? So that's, I understand that. And as anyone who's watched any of my videos to the end knows, it says, remember Milo and Wolfie. And I had two dogs for a long period of time in my life. I didn't bring them places with me and pretend they were emotional support animals. I didn't pretend they were service animals. Nobody would have believed me anyways. And they would have been offended if I tried to pass them off as if they were there doing something for me. In many respects, we were peers. In fact, that's how they viewed me. I wasn't their master. I was a peer. I was the third member of the pack. Okay. But my point simply is this, that the registration things online are scams. But if you think it'll help me because I have a professional looking certificate, or I got a little badge that Fluffy can wear, or a little vest or something. Yeah, that might help with respect to what you're doing, but what you're doing technically is not legal. I'm not going to say it's illegal. I don't know if there's a crime yet for a dog impersonating a service animal. But you might get into trouble if you try to pass the dog off and say, yes, this is a service animal. I've just never heard of it happening. And that's because so many people are gun shy about going up to somebody and saying, is that really a service animal versus just a dog that you want to bring on the flight? So if nothing else, the man's proving a really valid point about the online sites, because he just registered a beehive as a service animal. And that, of course, is the thing about the online services. I'm waiting for somebody could register a wolf. Somebody could register a pack of piranhas, maybe. They're kind of hard. It's heavy to move their aquarium around, but I'm sure someone will do that down the road. This is turning into a long piece of performance art. But there you go. Prescott Valley man registers a beehive as a service animal. Max Gordon wrote the story. azfamily.com ran it. And Russell passed it along to me. Thank you very much. Questions or comments, put them below. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law.
What if there is no tomorrow? There wasn't one today.